So we've just got home from recording our podcast, Try Before You Die. And today's episode was about the sexual and physical assault that happened to me in 2019. I have never publicly spoken about it. I think I've probably alluded to it at times. But I felt like now was the right time to discuss it. I felt like our podcast was the right platform to discuss it on. And that's because we had a election episode the previous week where we interviewed Billy Fitzsimons, who's the editor-in-chief of the Daily Oz, which is an Instagram news site. Highly recommend. It makes election information very palatable. But in that conversation, we discussed with Billy the lack of immediate attention, funding, support for violence against women. So she talked about this 10-year national plan to end violence against women and children, which was put in place in 2022, which goes to 2032. And she mentioned that since then, the stats around violence against women have actually gotten worse. And so everyone's a bit confused about how the government's helping, how a new government might help, because the budget failed to introduce anything immediate. So yeah, it's an epidemic. That's what people are calling it. It's a national emergency, yet there's no real urgency around it.
Just baffling.
And if you listen to our episode, we give a lot of stats and they're alarming and they're confronting, and I talk to my experience. And my experience was with a very significant lack of counselling resources, which I think is just imperative when you've dealt with an assault. You need help to process it and to move forward. And there was a 3-week wait for me to have counselling. That's free government counselling. I was able to access my own psychologist quite quickly, but I found an article from 2022, and that same free counselling at that point had a 7-month wait list, which is unacceptable. And I think a third of the people trying to access those resources were children. We are recording this before the episode is out, even though as you're watching this, the episode will be out. So we don't know what the response has been.
One of the big reasons why you wanted to do this was to create more of an awareness around it, get people talking about it, because it still is a taboo subject. There's still so many women that don't report it because they're too scared, or they feel shameful, or it just doesn't, there's nothing that, happens when they report it, or it brings up further trauma, which they don't want to relive. So
they don't want to put their families through the agony of reporting an incident. And you downplay the significance of your role in all of this, but you were there from the first moment that it sort of happened. We go into all of that. But I don't know, I just hope that by talking, it's a catalyst for change, and that more people feel confident to come forward and discuss it, because as you'll hear from my chat, it took me a long time to turn my thinking from shame and self-blame to, okay, this is not my fault, this is not okay. But I really want to make it clear how well I'm doing. This was something that took place 6 years ago now.
It's actually amazing how,
I know.
you've moved forward from it. And I made it known on the podcast, you certainly, I didn't want to use the words overcome, because I don't think you will ever overcome something that horrific, but just how you've moved forward from it and been able to compartmentalize that alongside your life to be able to still lead a very meaningful life and not let it affect, dating and intimacy. Once again, we're in such a privileged position that we can afford to pay for psychologists, and you've had a psychologist for a long time and you've worked on your mental health, which is why you are in such a good position. A lot of people don't have that opportunity, which is so devastating. That's what I think is one of the sadder things to come out of something like this is that people just don't have access to resources, whether that's due to money, whether that's due to there being wait lists or whatever that is. And I just hate to think of what those people are going through that don't have that support.
Yeah, very strangely, I have compartmentalized it, disassociated from it, and in a healthy way. Sometimes you hear those words and you think, oh, they're burying it. But I worked through it at the time. I had always been proactive with mental health throughout my life, and this was just another hurdle that I was facing and that I needed to work through. And I don't have any, you talk about, oh, you might feel differently about men and stuff, but I don't have any hatred towards men, or I can still go to the bar where I was drugged. And you need to listen to the whole story to understand what I'm referring to. But I'm lucky that I'm alive, and a lot of people are left with trauma for life. But I hope to do something positive from a terrible situation. We just wanted to do an initial video straight after the record, before we have people's reactions, just to say we're doing well. We were happy with how it went.
Very happy. Eliza, spoke unbelievably about it. Like, I literally walked away from that being like, wow, to articulate something so horrific so well and so like eloquently and with balance and, you know, no judgment and that kind of thing was really amazing. Like, I just can't believe how well written that was. And I think it's I almost think that will, as much as I know you don't need, and it's not closure, but it provides another element of relief and
release.
Yeah, relief and release for you, I think, as well, getting it out in the open. I think it's good for people to, you know, see the layers.
I also think, you know, you see us happy-go-lucky, and we definitely are. We have lived a lucky, blessed life. But there are layers, and you don't know what someone's been through, I think, is the moral of the story, just by sort of looking at them. And, you know, people have been through much worse. But I think I feel better now having spoken about it, because it's part of me and my experience in my life and who I am. In a good way is not the right term, but it's helped me build resilience, and it's part of my story.
Everything that you go through it sounds so cliche, but does help kind of shape you into who you are. Like, you know, and people have said to you, even our producer Rich today was like, if you can get through that, you can literally get through anything.
Hopefully.
Because that's a massive thing to go through. Like, that's, God, horrific. So I truly feel like, and that's why you're very good in a crisis. But you were before anyway, but you're just very...
I'm a fight, deal with it, weirdly.
I'm a flight.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I would have been. Like, I don't know if that had happened to me. I don't think I would have
fought like I did. I think you'd be surprised.
No, not fought, but how I would have coped with it after.
Okay.
I think would have been.
I don't know.
very
I think
different.
You'd be surprised.
I don't know.
I think everyone needs to have a little bit more faith in themselves, but you don't know how you're going to be in a situation like that, and I hope, you know, most people never have to know how they'd be in a situation like that.
And also, if you're watching this and you haven't listened to the episode, go and listen to it. Even if it's not something that's happened to you or someone that you know, it's really powerful. And you also, as awful as this sounds, just never know any, you know, that someone else is not going through that, or that's hiding information like that or something, and how you could potentially help someone. Even just spreading the word and letting other people know about it, I think is super, super important. So go back and have a listen. It's it's a really, I think, powerful
I'm
episode.
really proud of it. I'm proud of both of us. I think we did well, but I also just want to add this. If this chat, if our podcast episode has brought up anything difficult for you, we encourage you to reach out for support. You can contact 1-800-RESPECT. It's the National Domestic, Family and Sexual Violence Counselling Information and Support Service. The number is 1-800-737-732. So these resources are there to help. And I highly recommend reporting crimes, seeking help. talking to people, because a problem shared is a problem halved a little bit, as cliche as that sounds. And yeah, our DMs are open and we appreciate the support as always. Speak soon.